Toxic Rain, Cold Dot, Righteous Fire, Pathfinder. Man, they're all damage over time builds. I want to play a fast, zippy spellcaster with explosions. Maybe something like... Hey guys, so this is my Lightning Conduit Elementalist League Starter build guide. It is, in my opinion, one of the best softcore League starters if you want to play a fast mapping spellcaster. It is great for farming legions, breaches, eldritch altars, or just general boss rushing. The build features a fast playstyle, great clear, big explosions, tons of damage, and very easy gearing. Now, this build is not for everyone. It is a 2-button build that requires an active playstyle. For the budget version, the build is also not very tanky. However, it does have some defense layers built in, and we will talk about our defensive mechanics later in the video. Or you can use the timestamps in this video to jump to the part that you are most interested in. So, what is Lightning Conduit? Lightning Conduit is a relatively new skill that requires the enemy to be shocked. Depending on how much shock the enemy has, Lightning Conduit will consume the shock and deal damage depending on the effect of shock that it has consumed. It will not deal damage to a non-shocked enemy, so first we need to lay down Orb of Storm to constantly shock the enemy, then cast Lightning Conduit over it for our damage. It sounds slow and complicated, but due to our fast cast speed and insane clear, it's actually a very intuitive playstyle once you get used to it. Herald of Ash, Shock Proliferation, and our Impulseless Body Armor creates this massive chain of explosions every time we deal damage, which greatly reduces the amount of time we have to stop and kill mobs. Our high cast speed and low cooldowns also allow us to zip around the map very quickly with Lightning Warp. In fact, our Lightning Warp would be able to clear most packs due to our high damage and big explosions. Any stragglers still alive after we sat on them would promptly die with a single cast of Lightning Conduit. We mostly only stop and do our full skill rotation for tanky rares and bosses. We would lay down our Arcanist brand, place our Orb of Storms, then spam Lightning Conduit until they die. This build scales damage in 2 ways, Shock Effect and Power Charge stacking. Thanks to our Shaper of Storm Ascendancy node and by scaling Shock Effect, our spells are guaranteed to apply 65% shock to our enemies. This translates to 260% more damage for our Lightning Conduit. We then stack at least 8 Power Charges to further increase our spell damage, our crit chance, and our AoE. This allows for around 6 million DPS at mid-game, 2 to 3 Divine level gear, and over 13 million once you put around 8 to 9 Divines into it. I won't recommend min-maxing this build further than 25 million DPS, as that would require Mage Blood levels of investment. But for a League starter, this build can get you through most content quickly and fund whatever second build you want to play. This in fact is the build that I used to farm my Mage Blood last league. Okay, so for defenses, in the words of a very well-articulated, my favorite, PoE content creator, this build allows for mechanical expression when you play. Fine, it's not super tanky, but it's not completely paper either. The mid-game 2 Divine budget version of this build has around 3k life, 20k evasion, 90% spell suppression, non-damaging ailment immune, near permanent phasing, and has Primal Aegis to help block a portion of elemental damage. This translates to about 61k effective hit pool. Via our 3 Dragons unique helmet and the Singularity Scepter, we also chill, freeze, and hinder all enemies we hit, giving us ample time to react and move out of danger. For the endgame version, at around 8 to 9 Divines, the build feels a lot more robust since we are able to fit in 1 extra defensive aura. This version would have 16k armor on top of our existing defensive layers. The build is still not a hardcore build and it's not supposed to be one. It might require a few portals to clear some really endgame encounters, but you clear them nevertheless. Now let's talk about the cost of this build and how to progress. As a quick note, all the prices that I reference in this video would be my estimate of how things cost in the first and second day of the league. Starting with the campaign, you swap into Lightning Conduit at around Act 3 and this build can complete the entire 10 acts with solo self-found gear. Once you get into maps, you will need to purchase a few 1C uniques and some basic rare gear to cap your resistances. This should be able to get you all the way past yellow maps. The mid-game setup is what I am showcasing in this video, and as you can see in the background, the build is able to farm T16 mapping content, kill Shaper Elder, and farm Maven's The Formed Invitation. It does cost around 1 to 2 divines, or around 150 to 200 C. The notable uniques that you need include a Badge of the Brotherhood amulet, Relikesh's Impatience boots, and either a 5-link Impulsus or a Tabula. The endgame version of this build upgrades to a 6-link Impulsus, a Void Battery wand, and various other good-to-have upgrades that you can see in the POB I have linked in the description. The POB that I have included is very detailed. It walks you through the entire leveling process with the reference skill tree and gem links available almost every 10 to 20 levels. I have also included a step-by-step guide in the notes section on how you should progress your character, from the moment you complete Act 10 to all the way past killing endgame bosses and farming endgame encounters. The notes section outlines the step-by-step process on what you should work for as your next upgrade. And you can always refer back to the different gear sets and skill sets I've provided to compare how you are faring in terms of progression. The notes also mention certain mistakes and traps you should avoid to make sure your build is working properly, so be sure to read it carefully if you feel anything's wrong during your league start. As always, if you have any questions about the build, you can always come find me at my Discord server. Link is in the description down below. I will end the video with the full uncut gameplay of this build clearing Maven's The Formed Invitation using a Tabula and about 2 to 3 divines of gear. In my POB, this is called the mid-game, step 1 gear set and skill tree. I hope you have a great time with your league start and be sure to tell me all about it in the comments down below. Subscribe if you like my content and see you guys next time.